Hey guys, so for today's video, I'm going to be doing some Galaxy Aquarium nails. And to do my tanks, I'm using this rhinestone glue that I got off of Amazon. I think by the time this video is up, you will have seen my lava lamp aquarium nail where I also used it. So if you haven't seen that, and you want to know my thoughts on like this rhinestone glue and everything, you can go check out that video. But here I am just kind of marking out how far down the tanks are gonna go. I do mark them out with a Sharpie because you can just wipe that off with some alcohol in the end, or in this case, or like if you're doing the aquarium nails this way, you can just paint over them, you know, depending on what color you're using. But like I said, you can just wipe that off with some alcohol in the end, like if you're doing a lighter color or kind of more of a sheer color on top of there. But after I got those all marked out, I do apply the rhinestone glue onto the little plastic bag that I have here, but for some reason the footage of that is just gone. I have no idea what happened to that or like why it's just gone and missing, so you don't get to see that, but it's pretty straightforward. I just lay the rhinestone glue down onto the bag and then I press the tips into that. So yeah, as you're gonna see here in a second, it's going to jump from like this to me curing the backings on there, and that was it. Like, I don't know what happened. I don't know where the footage went of me spreading the rhinestone glue onto the bag. But anyhow, I do go ahead and cure that for 60 seconds. And then after that, I peel the nails off of the bag. And then I'm just going in with these little scissors that I have here and just cutting down like the excess of the rhinestone glue, so that way when I get them cut apart and I cut the rest of it off, it's a lot easier to get right up next to the nail, because if there's too much of that rhinestone glue hanging over, I can't really get right up to the edge with my nippers here. And I recommend using like something with a straight edge, like either straight edge scissors or nail clippers, or like what I'm using, some straight edge nippers, so you can get right up next to the nail tip and cut off all that extra rhinestone glue. And then you shouldn't really have to file too much. You might have to do a little bit of filing, but you don't have to do a whole lot because you are getting right up next to the nail tip with the straight edge nippers, scissors, whatever. And then you'll have two openings. This one up here closer to the nail bed area, that's a larger opening, and then an opening down by the free edge. That one is a little bit of a smaller opening. So depending on what you're putting inside of your aquarium nails may or may not fit in the opening at the free edge, so that's going to kind of determine which side you seal up at this point. But what I'm putting inside of the aquarium tanks here are going to fit in that free edge opening, so I'm just sealing up this opening here by the nail bed area, and I'm just taking a glob of the rhinestone glue and placing that down and just kind of smushing it down to flatten it out, so it's not going to be pressing up into my finger, because that is really kind of uncomfortable when you have like that edge there pressed up against the tip of your finger when you put these on. I do like to hold the nail flat when I do this. That way gravity isn't pulling that glue down into the tank and causing you to lose space in the tank. although with this rhinestone glue, it is pretty thick and it doesn't run a whole lot. So I could just hold them like straight up and down if I wanted to and be fine. But like I said, I do personally prefer to hold them flat. That way the rhinestone glue or whatever you're using to seal them up doesn't run down into the tank, causing you to lose that space inside of the tank. Also, whenever you're doing aquarium nails, you do want to make sure you're using something that is non-wipe. In this case, I'm using a non-wipe rhinestone glue because one, it is thicker, and two, it is non-wipe. And the non-wipe is going to help prevent anything that you put in there from sticking, because if you use something that has a tacky layer, it is going to make whatever you put inside the tanks stick a little bit. And now for the galaxy part of this, I wanted to paint the backings of the tanks. You can do this or you don't have to. I have done this before, and I have done it where I haven't painted the backings before, but I really wanted this to look like a galaxy nail. So I am just doing my little galaxies here on the back. And the way that I do galaxies is I like to sponge the colors on. I do have a whole video on how I do galaxy nails somewhere on my channel. So I just sponge on the colors and the pattern that I want my galaxy. So if I want like a circle or like some squiggly like shape, then I will, you know, sponge the colors on however I want. Because gel polish does thin out a lot whenever you sponge it on, I am doing 2 coats of each color, and I cure each coat for 60 seconds. Also, if you are going to be painting on the backs of your aquarium tanks, you have to go backwards, like work backwards. The same way that you would have to work backwards if you were doing like a design to show through on the underneath of your nail. So you want to start with whatever would be like the last step that you would normally do if you're doing it on top of the nail. You want to start with the last step and work your way backwards to going to what would be the first step. I will say I was confusing myself a lot when I was doing that with doing this set, just because I'm so used to doing it a certain way when I'm doing galaxy nails. I was really confusing myself a lot. I ended up having to do it off camera because, like I said, I was confusing myself so much, and I really had to like stop and think about what I was doing. And just with filming and like trying to do it right was like really a lot for me. So I did do it all off camera. And the final step after I got all of the little galaxies on was to sponge on some white underneath. That way when I painted the entire backing black, these colors would pop and you would actually be able to see them. I did only just do 1 layer of the white. I didn't need to do multiple coats of that. Like the 1 layer is good enough and it makes the colors pop a lot. So after I got the white sponged on, I did go ahead and cure that for 60 seconds. Now I'm just going in and adding some stars. I do a couple 4-pointed stars on a couple of the nails, and then for the most part I just do like dotted on stars. So I just take my dotting tool and put some little dots all over on like the empty spaces on the nails, just to kind of fill it in and make it look a little more space-like. And then once I got that done, I did go ahead and cure for 60 seconds. And then I had pulled out the black from Ball Pit to paint the backings of the nails, but then I decided I wanted to add some glitter onto those empty spaces to look like little twinkling stars farther in the distance. So I'm just taking tinsel from Madame Glam. It's like a silver hollow glitter, and I'm just sponging that on to add some of that glitter. And I'm sponging it on because I don't want like a whole lot of the glitter, or for it to be like you know, super condensed packed glitter. I just want a few little glitters here and there. And then once I finish doing that, I do go ahead and paint all the backings of the nails with the black, and then I cure that for 60 seconds. And then, because I did paint the backs of these, I am just going in with a top coat and top coating the nails. And then once I get that done, I cure them for 60 seconds. This is what I'm going to be putting inside the tank. There's like these white glitters and then these little white stars. They do glow in the dark, I do have a little clip of that in the end, but I just went in and put the little stars into the tanks. And in true Libby fashion, I definitely put probably more than I should have put in these tanks. So I put all the stars in first, and then I went in and I put like the little glow-in-the-dark glitters in there. And if you've ever watched any of my aquarium tank videos, then you know I tend to add a lot into the tanks, and a lot of times that ends up with me overfilling the tanks a little bit. I don't overfill them so much to where there's no movement in them, but I definitely feel like I fill them up too much to where like you can't really see everything that's in there, or like it gets kind of crowded. But also that's like how I like my aquarium tanks to be. Like I like them to have a lot of stuff in them and have a lot of movement in them. So sometimes I do feel like I add a little bit too much, and sometimes I feel like I could add a little more. And then sometimes I feel like I add just the right amount. I do feel like with these nails, I should have scaled it back a little bit and not add as much into them. I think a couple little stars and then a little bit of glitter would have been good for these. But like I said, I tend to overdo it. That's just kind of my style, to overdo like everything. So, you know, it is what it is. I'm happy with them. I really like how they are. But obviously, if you want less in your tanks, you can add less in your tanks. Or if you're like me and you like to have a lot of stuff in your tanks, then you can do like me and add a lot of stuff in your tanks. So now that I have all of the stuff that I'm going to be putting in my tanks in there, I'm just going in and filling them up with some baby oil. This is a blunt tipped syringe that I got off of Amazon. It was like a whole pack that came with a bunch of syringes with different sized like needles to them. But I honestly don't know what I did with all the other syringes and all the other needles. This is the only one that I currently have. But, anyhow, I just filled up the syringe with some baby oil. Now I'm going in and filling the tanks. And I fill the tanks in pretty slowly. Like, I go slow when adding in the oil so I can check for leaks and know if there is a leak as soon as it starts leaking out. Right here, there is a air bubble because of what I had put in there, like all the glitter and the little stars, created like a little air pocket in there. So when I filled or started adding in the baby oil, that little air pocket just kind of stayed there and the bubble formed in there. So I tried getting it out with the needle part of the syringe and it wasn't working. So now I'm just taking a long liner brush. I think I'm using like a 15mm liner brush because that's what got down there, to try and wiggle those around and loosen them up. I did like kind of, I filled it up, but then you can still see there is kind of a bubble in there within the glitters and stuff. So I did just kind of like tap it and shake it and like stick that brush back down in there to try and get that bubble out. And then you can see here I did manage to get the bubble out, and it's up there at the top. And now I'm just going in and filling the rest of the tank in with the baby oil. I don't like a bubble in my aquarium tanks because when the stuff is moving in there, the bubble traps the stuff so it doesn't move. So that's why I don't like it. If it's a small little bubble, like it's no big deal, it doesn't really affect it. But the larger bubbles that are in there, they definitely prevent the stuff from moving. So I do try to make sure that there is no bubble, or if there is a little tiny bubble in there, then it's no big deal. But once I get that filled up, I'm just taking my rhinestone glue and globbing that on right there at the free edge to seal it in. You could make like separate seals, so you could put the seals down on like whatever you use to create the backing and create little seals that way, and then glue them on with like your rhinestone glue or whatever you're using afterwards. But I don't do that. I just feel like that's an extra step that I don't want to do. So I do just seal them in right on the nail. I've never had an issue with the rhinestone glue or the gel that I'm using adhering to the nail and the tanks. It's always adhered on very well and cured very well, so I don't have an issue with this. But if you do find yourself having issues with sealing them this way, then I would recommend like doing the other way of creating a seal and like just taking some rhinestone glue and curing that and then gluing it on, like putting the rhinestone glue on that seal and then pressing it down onto the tip. But again, like I said, that's kind of an extra step that I don't want to do. And then you also have to go in and clip off all the excess from that. Whereas when I do this, I usually don't have to do much of anything. Maybe a little bit of filing if it got a little bulky. But yeah, there's really not much for me to do once I get those cured and sealed up. And after I do get them all sealed up, I'm just going in and painting the tops of them, just painting the nail bed areas so you can't see the divide between the tank and the tip where my natural nail is going to be. And I'm just continuing the like galaxy look with this. So I'm just going in and painting all of these with the black from Ball Pit. I did only do one coat of this and I cured that for 60 seconds. And usually when I would do something like this, I would take my liner brush and like make sure I'm getting a nice straight line going across there, but I kind of didn't want to bring out a liner brush and dirty it up, so I did just go ahead and very carefully do this with the brush straight from the bottle. It works just as fine. I just feel like I get better, cleaner, straighter lines if I use a liner brush rather than doing it this way. But like I said, it works out just fine, and it worked out fine with this set, so that's why I did it this way. Now I'm taking this cat eye here from Nails by Dev called Whimsical Wonderland. It looks like a galaxy in a bottle. It's like a purple blue shift, and then there's also like reflective glitters in there, so I thought it would go really well with this set. So I'm just applying that right on top of the black, and then I'm going to take a bigger round magnet and bring up all of the pieces. Bringing up all the pieces first makes it so whatever design you do on top like pops out and shows more. And then after I bring all those pieces up, I'm just going to take the little like pen magnet and just kind of push those around or push it around randomly to get some like random swirly type of designs to give it kind of like that galaxy type of swirl, or like a Northern Lights type of swirl. You know, if you've seen the Northern Lights, they kind of go in like this wavy, swirly kind of pattern. Or even if you look at like pictures of like galaxies and stuff, they are kind of like swirly and stuff. So I was trying to do that. And once I liked how it looked on the nail, I did go ahead and cure that for a full 60 seconds. When you're doing cat eye, you could just like flash cure and then do one final cure once you get them all done. But I just went ahead and cured them each individually. You do want to make sure once you get your cat eye design the way that you like it, you do want to cure it. That way it stays in place, because if you just let it sit, those magnet pieces will kind of like migrate and revert back to like their original place. So you do want to at least flash cure it once you're finished, before doing like one final cure, or go ahead and just cure it for the full 60 seconds to hold that in place. And then once I was finished with that, I took this Hollow Glaze top coat from Nails by Dev and top coated the nails with that. I decided to use this because it does have those hollow glitters in there, and I just wanted some more glitter and sparkle on the nail to again look like some twinkling stars. And this is a top coat, so after this I am done. Sometimes when I use this hollow top coat, I will like top coat it again afterwards, just because it was like for part of a design or something. But because this was the last thing that I was adding on, I didn't have to go in again with like another top coat to seal it in. This itself is just a top coat, and because I don't have these on the stands, I did have to do like the top half of the nail and then cure that, and then do the bottom half of the nail and cure that. The reason why I don't have them on the stands is because once the backing is on there and you have your tanks in, it's kind of hard to get them on the stands. You can't really put them on the backing part on the stands, because you do run the risk of popping open your tanks with the pressure of pushing them down. But then also just putting them in that area, like the nail bed area on the stand, it causes it to be unbalanced and they will fall over a lot. Also, like I said, it's just kind of hard to get them to stick on after that, because you can't really put a whole lot of pressure on them. Also, I did have a little bit of baby oil on the backs of them, so they weren't really sticking very well to the stand anyways, so I was just holding them as I went. But after I cured that hollow top coat, this is the finished result. You can kind of see here a little bit the stuff moving around in there. It is kind of hard to see from this angle since you are like looking down, and I have to hold it, you know, the opposite kind of way to get them to move. So it is a little bit hard to see, but you will see them moving later on when I like have them on and like doing my outside shots and whatever. But I am super happy with how this set came out. It is super fun. I do feel like I said earlier, I do feel like I did kind of overdo it a little bit with all the stuff I put in there. So you're not really seeing much of the background there, and you're not really seeing very much of the galaxy that I painted. But honestly, that doesn't really bother me. Like, you can kind of see it there in the back. But if you wanted to see more of it, you should add in less of it. But like I said, it really doesn't bother me. I'm really happy with how they came out. And then here under the flash, you can really see all that hollow glitter. You can also see the reflective glitters that are in with that cat eye gel that I used, and you can really see the like blue and purple shift and the design that I did there on there, and they really do look like the Northern Lights, or like some sort of funky type of galaxy on there, which is super cool, and I really love how this looks. I think if I were to do this again, I wouldn't add the hollow top coat onto the clear part of the tank where you see all the stuff in there. Ooh, here's the glow part. Or here they are glowing. This is the only clip that I got of them glowing because I forgot to take a clip of them glowing while I had them on. But like I said, they do glow, and they are really bright when they glow, and they glow for a long time. So if you're looking for some glow-in-the-dark stars or glitter, I definitely recommend this glitter and stars. They're from Michaels. I don't think I mentioned that earlier. I might have, I don't know. But either way, they're from Michaels. But like I was saying, I do think if I were to do this again, I wouldn't put the hollow glitter on the clear part of it, and I would just leave that be clear, like crystal clear, instead of having the glitter on there. I just thought it would add a little bit of extra like galaxy or like star effect to it, which I mean it did, but I don't know, I just feel like with everything, with the amount of stuff that I put inside of there with that glitter on top, is just a little bit much. And I don't know, it's not my favorite that I did, but like I don't know, I just feel like it could have done without it, although it is really fun and it gives a lot of, you know, sparkle and glitter to it, so I'm not too mad about that. But yeah, I probably would leave that off the next time. Maybe I could just add it to the back instead of, ooh, I should have done that. I put the hollow glitter first and then do the galaxy. That would have been really cool. But anyhow, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it.